Because this is something that happened. In all honesty,
The meeting will come to order. It's Tuesday, February 25th, and welcome to the regular meeting of the Board of Education. Will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Victoria Boucher.
States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Miss Christine Bello,
Here.
Miss Thomasina Bello,
Here.
Miss Mackenzie Boucher,
Here.
Miss Victoria Boucher, Mr. Bergarelli,
Present.
Mr. Doré,
Present.
Mr. Howard, Miss Politi,
Here.
Mr. Stewart.
At this time, we're going to go into the public hearing, and I'd like to invite Ms. Pinter to the podium for your presentation.
Good evening. As introduced, my name is Cynthia Pinter, and I'm the tax collector for the district. My staff and I are in a unique position to connect directly with the people who financially support the district. We don't just transact payments at the window, but we also take time to listen to the taxpayers, to their concerns, and to answer any questions they have regarding their tax bill. In the last few years, the recurring questions expressed mainly by our seniors has been, why are my taxes so high? Why does my bill keep going up? The answer is rarely straightforward. A change in the tax rate, an increase in taxable assessed value, a decrease in the STAR exemption, coupled with a decrease or even loss of the senior citizen exemption can all contribute to an increased tax bill. Tonight, I have a brief presentation in regard to the last factor, the partial tax exemption for senior citizens and also for individuals with disabilities. So if we could have the slides.
Next slide, Mr. Niblo.
Okay, so this is an overview of the exemption. The senior citizens exemption is not new to the district, with the exemption being approved at its current level back in 2006. The maximum income for a 50% exemption was set at less than $24,000 a year. New York State law allowed for a maximum income of $29,000 beginning in 2009. However, no change was made to the district's threshold. The district currently does not offer an exemption for individuals with disabilities and limited income. Due to increasing property taxes across the state and the overall rising cost of living, particularly impacting seniors and disabled individuals with limited income, legislation was proposed to increase the maximum income for both exemptions to $50,000. And in August of 2022, Governor Hochul signed the bill into law. This was a much-needed adjustment to align with income with the current cost of living and to help restore eligibility to our seniors. The next slide, please. This slide here shows a comparison. On the left are the current income thresholds starting at $23,999 or less for a 50% exemption, and then it increases up to $32,399 for a reduced exemption on a sliding scale. The right side shows the proposed threshold of $50,000 as recommended by the state, with income increasing up to $58,399 for a reduced exemption on a sliding scale. The district is comprised of 3 main municipalities. All 3 have approved increased thresholds. Both the town and the city of Newburgh approved the $50,000 limit for both exemptions. The town raised the limit back in 2022, right after the state, and the city just approved the increase last month. The town of New Windsor also approved a slightly lower threshold of $42,399 back in 2022, but only for seniors. The last slide, please. And this one here just gives you a brief overview of the eligibility requirements for both exemptions. They essentially are the same, the difference being that for seniors, it is an age-related eligibility needing to be 65 years or older. And then for persons with disabilities and limited income, there needs to be proof of disability. And that's all I have. Thank you so much.
Are there any questions? The public hearing is closed. So now I'll turn it over to Dr. Buon.
Introduce the people who are in charge of the Black History Month celebration to please come up and start the program.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our district-wide Black History Month celebration. One of our main themes throughout this month focused on our community, the Newburgh Enlarged School District community. We wanted the students to understand the rich history of where they live and where they go to school. The students will also showcase this evening all that they have learned, not only about the impact Black history has had on Newburgh, but about other influential African-American individuals in the world. It is my great pleasure to introduce scholars Anaya Harris-Lino, Hilary Armand, Alex Crawford, Ava Thomas-Pabon from NFA and South Middle School, who will provide you with more insight on the slideshow that we are presenting this evening.
Good evening. My name is Anaya Harris-Lino, and I'm a senior at NFA. Welcome to our Black History Month celebration. This evening, we would like to share a collection of work that tells the story of how we honor our past while celebrating our present and shaping our future. This slideshow begins with students across the elementary, middle, and high schools celebrating and honoring the many African American pioneers, including Newburgh residents from the past who have impacted our community.
Hello, my name is Hilary Armand, and I am an 8th grader at South Middle School. Elementary school students celebrated Black History Month through arts, projects, song, dance, and learning about famous African Americans who have impacted society. Middle school students honored Black history by learning about their local history. They also did research on influential African Americans and Newburgh residents such as Frederica Warner, Audrey Carey, and James Varick. They interacted with the award-winning songwriter, lyricist, playwright, and hip-hop recording artist Ronwe O'Daniel of the book and musical Beautiful Hair about an academically gifted African American student.
Hello, My name is Alex Crawford, and I'm a senior at Newburgh Free Academy main campus. Students engaged in a variety of activities, including visiting the historical archives at the Newburgh Free Library to learn about the past and present influential Newburgh residents. They researched historic landmarks that either once stood or are still standing today. They exhibited their newfound information through the form of essays, artwork, dance, presentations, and interviews. Students at Ms. Carbone's journalism class had an opportunity to interview Miss Lily Howard, a famous vocalist and an active community member. You will hear her hit song, La Di Da, playing in the background of our slideshow as we present. Her interview will be shared during Women's History Month in March. In our presentation today, you will see people highlighted from our community's past, but also the accomplishments of our present-day residents and alumni. You may have noticed examples of student work displayed through the hallways and as you entered this room. We invite you to click on the QR code for more examples of celebrations and learning that occurred throughout the district. Before our slideshow, we would like to introduce Royal Dennis, Karma Everett, and Sophie Tantono, who are a part of Miss Wright Jump's library troupe and wrote the poem, The Auspicious Waldorfs. We now turn your attention to our student showcase of the greatness within.
Would Ms. Jump and her troupe, her library troupe, please come to read the poem?
Royal Dennis, Karma Everett, Hendrik Sanson, Jonathan Quirk, Nayeli Sena Rodriguez, Sophie Tantono, with Miss Wright Jump. Alright, ready? The family you need to know about, the Alsdorf family. They make me want to shout. George and Caroline Alsdorf, slaves, you see. They worked super hard to become free, and used their money to get manumission. Free before slavery's abolition. Freed slaves who were farm hands, headed to Newburgh for freedom and land. Their son, Professor Du Bois, was a talented musician. He trained under Apple, a famous African American. Dancing, pushing for equality, his three sons, Simon, Charles, Ulysses. Businessman dominating Newburgh City, owned many stores like a famous dance academy. Trained the persons in hand. Now let the fancy gals commence. Men's clothing store, hair salons, bakery, tailoring shop, catering, and confectionery. Charles, the first son, 1862. The dance instructor teaching dance tricks. First African American graduate of Newburgh Academy. Breaking the last barrier left behind by slavery. He left a trail for you, and me. Now you can graduate from Newburgh Free Academy. Ulysses, the second son, 1872 to 1870. Talented composer, sharing hopeful views. Second African-American graduate of Newburgh Academy. Breaking the lasting barrier left behind by slavery. He left a trail for you, and me. Now we too can graduate from Newburgh Free Academy. Simon, the third son, 1874 to 1946. Nationally known, civic-minded clarinetist. Third African-American graduate of Newburgh Academy, breaking the lasting barrier left behind by slavery. He left a trail for you, and me. Now we too can graduate from Newburgh Free Academy. Changing music, changing minds, inspiring people of all kinds. In music and dance, they taught all ages. And music's been the mutual language of all races. Fleeing slaves too, basements bringing hope. The Underground Railroad is starting to grow.
Thank you to Ms. Jump's library troupe. Can you please play the slideshow?
to be my silhouette. Tonight, tonight, we're gonna go from the ABCs through the XYZs of love. It's true, 'cause me got you. La-di-da, oh boy, cha-cha-cha. La-di-da, oh boy, let's go, cha-cha-cha. You're my special angel, my big bop baby, my little bitty pretty pet. You send me with your lot of loving, lips so wide, just born baby to be my silhouette. Tonight, tonight, we're gonna go from the ABCs through the XYZs of love. It's true, 'cause me got you. La-di-da, oh boy, cha-cha-cha. La-di-da, oh boy, let's go, cha-cha-cha. La-di-da, oh boy, let's go.
Get up, you good-for-nothing lazy.
Morning, beautiful.
Oh, didn't you forget something? Don't forget the trash.
Yeah, you can be the greatest, you can be the best, you can be the King Kong banging on your chest. You can beat the world, you can beat the war, you can talk to God, go banging on his door. You can throw your hands up, you can beat the clock, you can move a mountain, you can break rocks. You can be a master, don't wait for luck, dedicate yourself and you go find yourself. Standing in the Hall of Fame, yeah, and the world's gonna know your name. You burn with the God's flame, yeah. And the world's gonna know your name, yeah. And you'll be on the walls of the Hall of Fame. You can go the distance, you can run the mile, you can walk straight through hell with a smile. You could be the hero, you can get the gold, breaking all the records you thought never could be broke. Yeah, do it for your people, do it for your pride. Are you ever gonna know if you never even try? For your country, do it for your name, 'cause there's gonna be a day when you're standing in the Hall of Fame, yeah. And the world's gonna know your name, yeah. 'Cause you burn with the God's flame, yeah. And the world's gonna know your name, yeah. And you'll be on the walls of the Hall of Fame. Godspeed, champion. Standing in the Hall of Fame. And the world's gonna know your name. 'Cause you burn with the gospel.
Newburgh is rich with a history of African American success and resilience. The former site of a pre-segregation era school for colored children is now a community center for all to enjoy. Abolitionist Frederick Douglass spoke to the congregation of AME Zionist Church during one of his speaking tours. While the original building is no longer there, the church and congregation are still part of the Newburgh community. Located across from Washington's headquarters stands Alsdorf Hall. This music education and dance school began in 1849 by the Professor Dubois Alsdorf, the son of free slaves, and he passed it down to his sons Charles, Simons, and Ulysses J. These are just some of the examples of the history that is all around us. Newburgh is rich with a history of African. Newburgh is rich with a history of.
My name is Ava Thomas Babone, and I'm a senior at NFA. We hope that you enjoyed viewing and listening to just some of the work that our school community did throughout the month of February. If you look in the back of the room, you will see a timeline that students in Miss Bowman and Miss Hasey's class had to research and interact with. Students had to research a topic from the timeline further and write a Newburgh history speech based on their research. I would like to introduce Zoe McLemore, who will read her speech, Finding Black History Heroes in Newburgh.
Good evening. My name is Zoe McLemore, and my speech is titled Dancing Through History. What is Black history? Columbia University defines it as the appreciation and acknowledgement of Blackness and how it permeates all aspects of society. We often learn about national leaders like Rosa Parks, Harriet Tubman, and MLK Jr., but I believe we should listen to stories rooted in our own community. Don't you? Picture Liberty Street. Nowadays, it's bustling with businesses, homes, and a park. Now imagine it more than 100 years ago. It was home to a family of former slaves and Underground Railroad activists that changed the history of American dance forever. It all began in 1827 when the Hudson Valley had the highest number of enslaved people in New York State. A man with newfound freedom, George Alsdorf, and his wife Caroline built a business empire, eventually owning a men's clothing store, a catering business, a bakery, a tailoring shop, and a women's hair salon. But George's real passion was the language of music and dance he learned while enslaved in Ulster County, and their oldest son, Du Bois, shared it too. Through this grew what came to be Alsdorf's Hall School of Music and Dancing. George opened his first studio in the old United States Hotel, and to signify it, he and his family hung a flag. He was a great violinist and dancer, performing with some of Newburgh's most talented artists at the time. As industrialization brought wealth to Newburgh, dance became a leisurely activity with the rich. George's school taught different styles of this art like polka, waltzes, and quadrilles. While teaching these skills, he was also networking with fellow businessmen. Throughout Newburgh and the Northeast, word spread of this entertaining craft that fell under the term ballroom dancing. By the end of the 19th century, dance had taken over, and by the beginning of the 20th century, it had evolved into jazz. The school stayed in the family for generations, and over a century later, Ulysses, George's grandson, stood, taking down the flag and announcing the end of his family's service to the city. To this day, the Alsdorf School of Music and Dance flag stays with the trustees of the Historical Society. Generations upon generations of the Alsdorf family history stay with that flag, swinging from laboring days and nights serving people without pay to popularizing one of the most well-known dance styles to date and persevering through the discrimination and pain of Newburgh before it was accepting and multicultural. We have then to thank for the fake dance parties before you go out with your friends to the beautiful performances of the Newburgh Performing Arts Academy. The Alsdorf family name holds great fame. Thank you for listening.
Thank you to Zoe and all of our amazing writers and narrators. We do apologize for a little bit of our technical difficulty, but we hope what you took away was the amazingness that is occurring across our pre-K to 12, our 11,000 students who go and across 14 campuses. That was just a snippet of what's been going on. We will be adding to it as we continue. At this time, I turn our attention to our live performances, and we continue with our student showcase of the greatness within.
Thank you. Beautiful.
Good job. You did a great job. Great job. Oh, you have to go on that side? Good job tonight.
Good evening, NECSD community. My name is Carmelo Sassler, and I am the stage manager for our wonderful director, Miss Small. The South Middle School Theater Department proudly presents Beautiful Hair in honor of Black History Month. Please note that our show dates have changed. We will now perform on Saturday, March 8th at 12 and 3 p.m. Tonight, we are excited to share a special scene from our musical. We hope you enjoy this preview and look forward to seeing you at our full performance.
Yes, we're doing it without the music. The show must go on. So let's get it done. All right, ready? You want me to come closer? Yes. Can I come? No? Got it. You can sing along. You don't have to be out there to sing. Start to sing? Yeah, you can. Nobody's stopping you. Make you beautiful. Make you. I'll tell you when. Make them see your words, make them say your words, make them all make you undeniable, 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 the most desirable. More than some style, some fad, some trend. More than some popular phenomenon that's 5,000 years before we were here, 5,000 more when we disappear. Like the brown in our eyes, the black on our skin, we are beautiful within. We come from strength, we come from culture, we come from wisdom and power. Connection we hold to our ancestors, our creators, something undoubtedly ours. These are our roots. These are our roots. These are our roots. These are our roots. Don't let anyone trick you into believing you're not deserving of the crown on your head. Don't let anyone trick you into believing you're not good enough. Don't be misled. Don't let anyone trick you into believing you're not worthy of the greatness you proclaim. Don't let anyone trick you into believing you're not good enough. When beautiful is your name, Jamila, Jamila, Jamila. Beautiful is my name. Wow.
Sorry.
Hello, everyone. Greetings. My name is Akir McNeil, and happy Black History Month to everyone in here. Newburgh has a long history of art and music, shaped by different cultures and creative people. One of the first to bring music to the city was Du Bois Alsdorf, a freed slave who taught and performed music, helping to build a strong musical tradition in the Black community. He founded the Alsdorf School of Music and Dance, which became a major part of Newburgh's cultural scene, teaching generations of students in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Over the years, Newburgh grew into a center for the arts, with places like the Ritz Theater hosting famous performers like Ella Fitzgerald and Duke Ellington. Today, that artistic spirit lives through local programs and schools. I started my journey in the arts at Newburgh Performing Arts Academy, where I trained in dance. From there, I continued developing my skills at Newburgh Free Academy, where I became a part of the advanced dance team and performed at major school events. Now I train at the Harlem School of the Arts, where I continue to grow as a dancer. Through each of these experiences, I've been able to contribute to Newburgh's rich artistic history while preparing for a future in professional concert dance. I would now like to share with you a solo I choreographed to Troubles Troubling by Dubois A. Keene, inspired by modern techniques I learned at the Alvin Ailey Dance Theater.
So as we wrap up our student performance part, we've taken you from elementary to middle to high school, and we're bringing you back down, and we leave you with our elementary students performing a two-voice poem that they wrote. You gonna sing it? Yeah, right there. I'll help it. Go ahead, right there. Go ahead.
I am the future. Yo soy esperanza. Honor those. We honor those. I am the future. Yo soy esperanza. We honor those who paved the way. I fight for rights like Dr. Martin Luther King. He had a dream. Lucho por el derecho a una educación como Ruby Bridges. We will never stop honoring their contributions. I build like Garrett Morgan. He contributed to our safety. Creo como Garrett Morgan. Su luz guió nuestro camino. We work for our future leaders. I write short stories like Alice Walker and advocate for social change. Utilizo mi voz para estar presente como Dorothy Kate, la madrina del movimiento de mujeres. Our story will be proudly told. I am strong like Mary McLeod Bethune, who fought for equity. Soy valiente como Sojourner Truth y defiendo lo que es correcto. We stand up and honor greatness. I break records like Jesse Owens, a successful athlete. Gano como Martin Luther King Jr. Su premio Nobel de la Paz es para mí un símbolo de esperanza. Our triumph shapes tomorrow. I write history like Rosa Parks. She stood her ground. Hablo como Rosa Parks, incluso cuando algunos no están dispuestos a escuchar. Our voices will lift others. I am history. Yo soy hoy. Black history lives every day. Together we are greatness.
As you've all seen tonight, our school community is full of talent and greatness, as our scholars have all demonstrated. We hope that you have enjoyed our students' performances. In the playbill, there is a QR code that will provide you with a link to the presentation, which we will continue to update with more wonderful presentations for Black History Month this week. We look forward to seeing you this week at additional upcoming Black History Month celebrations district-wide. Thank you, have a good evening, and let's give one final round of applause to our amazing scholars.
We're just going to wait till the room clears, and we're going to take a little bit of break here. Hold on.
I was my legs too. I'll see here what my legs I'm gonna go home with my Oh yeah. So I know we should all do it. We should stay.
Before we go into public comment, Dr. Buon has a couple of updates for us.
Dear Madam President, esteemed Board of Education members, and our wonderful school community, I would like to take a moment to provide an update on a matter that was brought at the last board meeting. After conducting an investigation and receiving feedback from parents of our girls' sports teams, coaches, and our athletic director, Mr. Hodge, I want to reassure you that our female athletes have appropriate access to locker rooms and bathrooms. At no point have our girls been required to change in locations where they could be viewed or recorded. We are committed to maintaining a safe and respectful environment for all of our children. Thank you.
And now we're going to move on to public comments on agenda items.
Been asked to read the following from the board president. Public comment at board meetings. All speakers and observers must conduct themselves in a civil manner. Obscene language, defamatory statements, threats of violence, statements advocating racial, religious, or other forms of prejudice will not be tolerated. Any speaker who is unable to speak at the podium tonight can email the Board of Education members at boemembers@necsd.net with their concerns. The first person signed up to speak on agenda items is Mr. Dennis Grant. Moving on, the next person signed up to speak is Mr. Ronaldo Santiago.
Good evening, Superintendent and members of the board. Before I give my comments, I just want to say that was a great presentation by our students for Black History Month. That was a really great thing to see. As far as the agenda item I wanted to speak on, now I know I've stood at this podium more than once since the unfortunate incident in front of NFA Maine, referring to the shooting, of course, and I've been asking where is our head of security to give us an update. So imagine my shock and my chagrin when I noticed in the agenda that he has tendered his resignation. Now, I'm not going to sit here and speculate as to the circumstances. I'm hoping that an exit interview will be conducted and that will be enlightening. What I do ask of this body is that when you evaluate your next candidates for this role, that you impress upon them that this is a very visible role. This is not a work-at-home role. The safety and security of our students must be paramount, and that requires visibility. Now, I've been to many of these meetings. Ever since I started going, I believe it was last June, I've been to almost all of them. And I look upon these tables and I see heads of various departments of this district, curriculum, finance, technology, and not to my memory do I ever recall seeing the head of security sitting at this table. Now, I don't know if that's a matter of policy. I don't know if that's a matter of superintendent discretion, and I'm certainly not trying to undermine that discretion if it is. However, it cannot be truthfully said that there have not been incidences that have occurred in this district that warranted all hands on deck, that warranted the appearance of the head of security to give the community a sense of security that their children's safety was being looked after, evaluated, and if need be, the processes and procedures be tweaked in order to mitigate that risk. Because there does need to be a department head that in the morning, when we say goodbye to our children in the morning, there should be one person who is completely and totally focused to make sure that at the end of the day, we as parents of the community are afforded the opportunity to welcome our children back home and ask them how their day was. And I feel that is very important. I cannot stress enough that the board needs to impress upon the next person to take up this mantle. This will be a highly visible position. You need to have your feet down here. I also noticed that we are receiving the resignation of, to my understanding, the only SPED teacher in our pre-K program, which was very disheartening. I really do hope that an exit interview is conducted and we can glean some idea of why this person is tendering their resignation. I understand that, in some of these cases, it cannot be helped, but obviously these resources, we've heard time and time again, these resources are like gems. And for us to lose such a gem, especially our only one in pre-K, it's a real big blow. And I would almost ask, I know a lot of people watch these meetings on YouTube. You have friends, you have family who are teachers, who could be SPED teachers or interested in SPED teaching. Please, we need resources for our children. We need to implore people, quality educators, to come to our district. I would almost say some cross-departmental talks have to happen between HR and maybe the SPED department, maybe even our language department, because one thing I keep hearing is we don't have SPED teachers, we don't have ESL teachers, the resources are not there. Well, if we are imparting in our students a love of learning and a love of teaching and an inspiration for that, we should do what we can to keep those resources within our community. Tell them, look, if you're interested in becoming a teacher, come back home. Pass your gift on. We need to do something in order to retain these people because we need them. Thank you.
The next person signed up to speak is Ms. Tracy Wallace.
Thank you. Hi. For the on-agenda item, I'm speaking about two. I have questions because I don't have anyone to ask these questions, so I'm just asking. For resolution number 8.4, the forensic audit. So my question is, I thought there was bidding for the RFP and the forensic audit, and again, asking, so if there's bidding on the forensic audit, my question was, Lisa Rusk's contract is on the agenda, and I looked up who she was, and she was from Shaw's firm, at least that's what I looked up, if that's the same person. So I don't know if is it a conflict of interest that Lisa Rusk comes from the same lawyer that that the district is paying to represent them, that's also going to be in charge of the external audit? That's just a question. And the bidding process, because it was such a quick, you found her so quickly to do the forensic audit, I didn't know how long does bidding go for the RFP in that process. So again, because I don't know the process, I'm not on the board, I'm not an administrator, I'm just a person out here looking for answers. I was just wondering if the procurement, if you needed a procurement to bid, to look for someone to do a forensic audit, and if there was any conflict of interest, being that the person that's doing the forensic audit is also coming from Mr. Shaw's firm. My second resolution that I would like to talk about is 9.1, Director of Safety. So I took it upon myself to go to City Hall, City of Newburgh. I went twice, and I spoke at their City Hall meeting. I requested that the City of Newburgh to please work with the district in patrolling the schools for safety. I have requested this from the police department to please contact, if that's possible, someone from the administration and work with the school. I also told them that there is an empty police car all year that's at NFA North. We all know it's empty. We all know no one goes in and out of it. It's been empty for some years now. I don't know why it's sitting at NFA North because it's not doing anything to protect the kids. I also reported that to City Hall as well because if you want to protect the kids, you have to have people in the car, you have to have people patrolling. So I just wanted to let the board know that I took it upon myself, which people can do, go to City Hall and request the police department to work with the schools in patrolling outside of your hours, outside of your, of where security ends and the police can assist. I did request that the police department to please add some patrol cars and to ensure that the safety is, number one in the district. Regarding 9.1 resolution, that was, of course, your security, the resignation. So that's why I was just saying in regards to security and safety, I think at least from the time being, if you can work with the city of Newburgh on some patrolling or some kind of agreement with them, which I thought you had in the past, if you can just, the board, being oversight, can just look into maybe having something in place with them. Thank you.
Mr. Dennis Grant.
Good evenings. My name is Dennis Grant. Before we begin, can we give a moment of celebration of excellence? Can we give a round of applause to our boys basketball team who won 5 games in a row to go to the playoffs? Thank you. Their dedication, hard work, and teamwork deserves acknowledgement. We may not know what lies ahead with our football team or our suspended superintendent, but what we do know, what we must always stand firm on, is supporting our children and help support them when they show up and show out. On a hopeful note, Resolution 9.5 aims to reduce the number of probationary teacher appointments. But let's be clear, reducing probation doesn't mean reducing accountability. We must ensure that the teachers who step into our classrooms are equipped and fully prepared to elevate our children. Because last meeting, we heard a mother speak with pain in her voice about her daughter, a bright black child, struggling to read at grade level. And that very much saddened me. And so I don't know how you feel, board members and attendees, but that's a huge issue. On a hopeful note, we, Resolution 9.5, when it aims at reducing the appointments from 4 years to 3 years with proven prior experience, that's fine. But for administrators, it is not, isn't it how should I phrase it? For administrators, is it not the law that administrators need 4 years, 1, 2, 3, 4, to be tenured? Acting superintendent, what kind of evaluation did you have for them? Please don't do what I think that you're going to do. I don't know, but now I hear our acting superintendent is committed to nurturing our scholars, reading potential through the science of reading. And for that, we ought to say, great. Aristotle once said, and I quote, "The roots of education are bitter, but the fruit is sweet." But tell me, who was his teacher? A great teacher makes all the difference. As a father of 3 honor students who graduated from this very district, I knew what it took on my end as a parent to ensure my children excelled. But parents cannot do this alone. The classroom must be a place where every child, no matter their background, has access to an education that will set them up for success. Now, well, I should say, but I also have hope that the teachers that completed the probation will receive the training, the tools, support they need to be best educators they can be. Because while we know not all teachers are the same, We also know that every child deserves the same opportunity to succeed. One thing needs to be clear, the data. People may say that numbers do not lie, but instead numbers tell a story. They provide feedback, progress, and the truth about whether or not our students are learning to read under the science of reading. But after that, what? Results and accountability. Because let's be real, this district cannot do this alone. For nearly 30 years, despite various reading initiatives, reading, diagnostic reading, assessment, cognitive, apprenticeship, a synthetic phonics, evidence-based reading instruction, and Common Core, one thing has remained the same. Black students continue to struggle with reading, and that's nearly 30 years, if not longer. So let me ask this. If we cannot uplift those who struggle the most, how can we expect to improve our district's reading levels as a whole? And I repeat that. If we cannot uplift those who struggle the most, how can we expect to improve our district's reading levels as a whole? This is why I am calling for a formation of a Blue Ribbon Commission, a coalition, I'm sure many have heard of that, a coalition of dedicated educators, parents, community leaders, and literacy experts to analyze, investigate, and advocate for real solutions. This commission would not just be an, but it will be an active force to ensure the science of reading is implemented effectively, and I will be in touch.
There's nobody else signed up for public comment on agenda items. If anybody else would like to comment on agenda items, please step to the podium. Okay, we'll move on to non-agenda items. The first person signed up to speak on non-agenda items is Miss Sabrina Dolfinger.
Good evening to the community, the acting superintendent, Dr. Bond, and the Board of Ed. I would like to speak to you tonight about the suspension of the superintendent, Dr. Manning Campbell, at the special meeting held on January 23rd, 2025. Dr. Manning Campbell was appointed superintendent at the May 26, 2022 board meeting. It feels like shortly after that, rumors started and there was a concerted effort to get her out. And here we are today, a paid suspension until you find something. It doesn't make it any less egregious by paying her. Someone's livelihood and integrity are being maligned and called into question. That is not so easy to take back. We know you have an agenda. That was clear when you skipped over the deputy superintendent for the acting superintendent position. I want to be clear that this is not about Dr. Bond. We should have no concerns over Dr. Lisa Bond's running this school district. She was part of the team that hired me, and it was a privilege to work under her. We should be concerned about the way it happened. We should be concerned that the 5 board members voted down public comments on this item and have not been transparent with the community. They don't want to hear from the community unless it is agreeing with them. We should be concerned that when they couldn't get Dr. Manning Campbell to quit on her own, that they went about getting her out another way. I suspect they have nothing that supports the suspension, so they are insinuating and overplaying what happened. That's what it feels like. Magnifying something and hinting that there is impropriety at levels that would call for her firing. Trying to manipulate the public into believing that there is malfeasance without all evidence and in spite of the auditors saying they were satisfied, although there were areas that needed improvement. Trying to turn the community against her. It almost worked. There have been rumors of misconduct, questions about her personal finances, how she can afford shoes and her clothes. She's been belittled and called names. One former board member said they would never call her doctor, although she earned that right. When assassinating her character did not make her resign, certain parties went digging for anything that they could pin on her. Case in point, all the suggestions that there has been a deliberate mismanagement of this district's funds via posts on social media and in board meetings by previous and current board members. If you are not doing your due diligence and following up by looking at the minutes and the meetings, you will come away with the perception that there are a lot of shady financial things going on. That is the goal, to cast doubt on the abilities of this administration and the superintendent. For example, at the 12/23 meeting, Mr. Stewart, who's the head of the Audit and Finance Committee, said that he looked at the 2022-2023 information and went through everything with a fine-tooth comb, and there was no malfeasance. Found that there were areas of concern, staffing and backup, and that he hadn't seen the register since July. When asked if they were unwilling or unable to give information, Mr. Stewart admitted that he received the answers that he asked for. At the 1/14/25 meeting, the board president was asked why they needed a forensic audit, and there were no facts that were given. She stumbled through her response and said that the report was quite shocking, had tons of red flags, and was less than stellar. In other words, no factual information. Another area was where the board president continued to say that they haven't received communication, information, and explanations from central office. Once again, it was explained that there had been communication and that the receipts and information needed is being provided, but that there was no treasurer to give the information, so they couldn't get the information to them at that time. It seems that this majority board is not looking for answers. They are looking for ways that they can support the sham suspension of the superintendent. Your actions are not in line with your oath of office to put children first, or the promise to the taxpayers. The Clear Choice Coalition is transparent. We see what you're doing, ousting the superintendent without concrete facts and then hoping to get the evidence after the fact. And is she also going to be held accountable for a community shooting? I won't read all of this, but I just want you to know that this isn't about Dr. Bond or about what the policies are. Do the right thing. You're here for one reason, for students. Put your petty nonsense aside and your hurt feelings and get back to doing what's important for kids, not for yourself. Thank you.
The next person signed up to speak is Mr. Ronaldo Santiago.
Good evening. Just two quick points that I want to bring up. One, concerning our sports teams, there has still been a lack of information published as far as what's going on with the football program. How is that going to look come springtime and on? And this concerns me very much because as a parent of a son on JV and also one who is with the youth Go Back program, and a shout out to those folks because they do a great job. It concerns me that we've had all this time for an investigation, but very little information has come out so far. I understand that these things take time. Perhaps this is just a little venting of frustration, but obviously the community is wondering what's going to happen with our sports teams come spring. Another minor note that I did look over within the agenda, I did notice that we, in rendering some of our equipment obsolete, I noticed that we were disposing of or declaring obsolete about 400 somewhat yonder pouches. Now, I know that Governor Hochul has made it a sticking point. I know that she is very interested in cell phone use in schools, and I'm assuming that declaring these devices obsolete or surplus means that they are actually not functioning or somehow defective, and that's why we're letting go. If that's not the case, then considering the governor's directives, I'm not sure if that's wise to let that equipment go. But again, I leave that up to your leadership. Thank you.
The next person signed up to speak is Bob Capano.
Thank you very much. My name is Bob Capano. I live in New Windsor. And throughout my lifetime, I've had a great deal of experience working with our young people. I've been the leader, the president of the youth organization that's served over 2,000 children in recreational baseball and soccer programs. I've taught high school social studies, and I've been an adjunct professor of political science for over 20 years, including currently at Orange County Community College. So as a businessman and educator and community leader, I'd like to speak about some of the experiences with this board over the past year. But let me say first, I know that there is no greater title or job I will ever have than the title of dad. But I'd like to offer a different perspective of what has been said at these public speaking sessions over the past several months. And I believe that what I'm about to say probably, and I hope, represents the vast silent majority of Newburgh and New Windsor residents that don't have time to come to these meetings, that they only have an opportunity to watch on YouTube while they're making dinner or while they're working a second job, as is the case for me, who watches a number of these meetings as I'm on the bus going to work in New York City. As I said, currently a student, I was a student at Orange County Community College, and now I teach there. So I still remember when I lived in New Windsor, I still remember the issues with this school board, with issues with school safety and low graduation rates and low test scores. And now, not to age myself, but almost 3 decades later, having a 5-year-old son and living just across the street from the home I lived at when I attended OC, I see many of those same issues. Low graduation rates, 71% graduation rate, while the city of Middletown with similar demographics has a 91% graduation rate. I see low test scores. I see school safety as an issue. I remember the January meeting that just passed that was held at Newburgh Free Academy, where just days earlier there was a shooting, and not one of the public speakers that spoke at that exact location bothered to mention that shooting. So I'm here to say on behalf of the vast silent majority of residents, all we want is safe schools. We want our kids to pass with flying colors. Why can't that be the mission? Why can't that be the focus of these meetings? So, how can anyone believe, after a decades-long record of failure, of low test scores, of low graduation rates, how can anyone believe that drastic change isn't needed, isn't finally needed? We see it all the time. We just saw with an external audit that the budget presented before the voters called for a property tax increase on the assumption that there was a budget deficit. But guess what? There was a budget surplus. And I argue that board members that don't know the difference between a budget surplus and a budget deficit should not be on the board. Yet we have board members who voted to pass that budget, to put that budget, that smoke and mirrors budget, before the voters. Yet they will stand here and run for re-election. They will try to get back on the board. And those same board members that voted for this smoke and mirrors budget, lo and behold, are the 4 board members who voted against a forensic audit. Seems like something's fishy. Yet all we hear at these board meetings, is how the 5 new board majority members are racist. They don't want to fight for our kids. They've had their property vandalized. They've been called awful things. And anyone who has a mother or grandmother or sister or niece, it should make their blood boil that these 5 board members are treated that way week after week, month after month. So I, for one, am here to say, on behalf of the silent majority of residents, thank you to the board members, the 5 new board members, for having the courage to change, for having the courage to stand up against those who attack you day after day. Thank you.
The next person signed up to speak is Mr. Jihad Morris. No, we'll move on. The next person signed up is Miss Tracy Wallace.
So there's, I don't even know where to start. I'm going to start with this. I'm really tired of the separation of the 4 and the 5. I have 4 kids. They all don't share a brain. They all don't share a body, right? You all have your own brains. I would like to address you from now on as 9 separate individuals that can please think for themselves. We do not have to form cliques, regardless of relation. You are your own person, and I'm hoping that you can see all of the gaps that are in the district. That's why the rates are so low. I have kids here for 4 years. I have 4 children. I've been in this district for a long time, and I noticed there's a lot of discrimination within the school that has to be addressed. Black kids are being expelled, they're being suspended, treated like criminals. How can someone learn reading if they're at home? If they're suspended, if they're expelled? How can a historic, this isn't just yesterday's news, this is 20 years, this is gonna keep happening. The kids in the district that are failing are the Black and Spanish students. 13% are doing well. How do I know this? Because the New York State report card is what I follow. I do not follow iReady. Why do I not follow iReady? iReady is given in an uncontrolled environment, and the kids are not always supervised during these iReady sessions. So iReady, I don't feel, is a really reliable source. I think the reliable source is the state. The state testing, though, that's a reliable source. It's in a controlled environment. That's where we find our resources. As far as iReady is concerned, my son was in a classroom 2 years ago, a few years ago, I don't have a lot of time, and the students were being screamed at. He's a white kid, he's half white, he's half Peruvian, and he said, I've been in recess for 2 weeks by myself. What's going on? Why? He was in a 12 1-to-1. The kids weren't having recess. He has sensory issues. There was a lot of screaming in the classroom. The teacher was screaming. They're playing around. They're iReady scored. They're iReady. They're failing. Luke raised his hand and said, I don't understand the lesson. The lesson was retaught. What happened to those other students? Okay, so there's a lot of examples that I can go through where students are being yelled at. They're being treated like criminals. They're being at little babies. I know there's a lot of teachers' assistants in classrooms within the past few years that I've seen babies being screamed at, right? Babies being screamed at. What it does to a child is breaks them. It breaks the child. We want them to learn, but there's more than reading we have to address within the district. We have to address also what's going on in the classroom. And what the administration, I have been to the Board of Education's nights where they have the tables, where the math and science tables, and I've spoken to them. What they're telling me that should be going on in the classroom is not going on in the classroom. I have kids that the teachers are not going by so there is a gap between the administration communication, the teacher communication, the children communication, and the parents communication. And so, with that said, I am looking forward to hopefully working with Ms. Bond and the board and the community on a SEPSA, which is a Special Education Parent Teacher Student Association. What it is anyone in the board, anyone can join from the community and the board, and it is an association where we can get resources for kids with disabilities, and I'm sure Ms. Bond, I think you were trying to pass this as well, and I will be more than happy to work with you, Ms. Bond, because I know your dedication to this.
Dr. Bond.
Dr. Bond, I apologize, Dr. Bond. I know that your dedication for a SEPSA, I heard that you were dedicated to that, so I would appreciate that as well. I was working with Dr. Manning Campbell, which we're no longer working with her at the moment. And I also want to address within the last few seconds that I mistakenly went on social media to try and dismantle hate. But I just tried to dismantle hate with hate. And I'm realizing that on social media, if somebody says something wrong and someone's spreading hate, because there's a lot of hate being spread on social media about the community members, that is causing a rift between the community members and the board. And I really don't appreciate if someone is trying to focus on education, spreading hate is not the answer. And I mistakenly went on social media to try and dismantle it by telling what the board was doing wrong, but then that would be my fault, because then we're just pointing hate at each other. let's just please work together and get past this. Thank you.
The next person signed up to speak is Mr. Matthew Greenbaum.
Good evening. My name is Matthew Greenbaum. I'm the head coach for your Newburgh Free Academy Lady Goldbacks basketball program. Let me first start by thanking Athletic Director Mr. Hodge and you board members for providing me with the opportunity to coach these student athletes this season. I would also like to thank the players and their parents for their support. Reflecting on my first season, I believe we succeeded in developing a new culture for this program, built around camaraderie, preparation, and effort. This season, we laid the foundation for our program. But my ideas, objectives, and goals for this program are not the reason why I come to speak before the board tonight. During the last board meeting, some disparaging and slanderous comments were made about my program, and I came to set the record straight. Let me be clear. At no time are my players undressing in the open. At no time are they denied access to changing areas. At the end of the school day, my players are required to attend team time with my assistant coach, Mr. Henderson. This consists of academic studying, reviewing game film, and team bonding. They do this from anywhere between 45 minutes to an hour, after which they change in private, and then we start our 2-hour practice. I'd like to take some time to read some of the emails and texts that were sent to me by parents after the last board meeting. These were most sent to Mr. Hodge, and he forwarded them to me. Mr. Hodge, it was brought to my attention that a parent not affiliated in any way with the program made a complaint about the team being forced to change in areas before practice. I'm speaking on behalf of myself and my daughter. At no point in this season or over the past 6 years that my daughter has played with the Newburgh basketball program has she ever been forced to change in an open area. She's always had access to a bathroom or private changing area. I personally did not know who the parent is nor never spoke to her. She has also never had contact with my daughter. As a parent of a female athlete who plays multiple sports for the school district, I can say with confidence that these two coaches would never put my daughter in a situation where she would feel uncomfortable. Coach Henderson and Coach Greenbaum are amazing coaches, and the Newburgh School District is lucky to have them. I'm personally grateful for the professionalism and integrity that both coaches have shown this year. My daughter loves basketball again, and I can say it is a tribute to the way both of these coaches have chosen to coach the girls' basketball program. Another parent. Oh, I'm a teacher in the district and parent. Our child is on the JV team. I was watching the board meeting from home last night and heard the comments made by another community member about the girls on the basketball team being denied access to changing in private locations and being required to change in the gym in front of their coach. This comment came as a shock to me as a parent of a girl on the team, so I asked my daughter if this was a fact. She denied that this has ever happened. She's never been denied access to a private location, been forced to change in the gym in front of any of the coaches. She's never heard of it happening on the other girls on the JV or varsity team who have male coaches. Another parent, I reach out to clarify some misinformation communicated. My goddaughter has participated in school sports for the last 3 years or more. She's never been instructed to change her clothes in any place except the bathroom or locker room. I can go on with all these, but I think my point has been made. I would like to thank you again for the opportunity to allow me to work with these student athletes and the opportunity to speak tonight and defend a program that I'm hoping to build in this community. To add to that, our Lady Goldback varsity basketball team will be running some basketball clinics for future Lady Goldbacks come this spring. Thank you very much.
There's nobody else signed up to speak on non-agenda items. If you would like to speak on non-agenda items, please come to the podium.
Good evening. My name is Andrea Terso, New Windsor, New York. Good evening to Dr. Juan, cabinet members, board members. I'm here tonight. I have 2 middle school students in the district, and I don't know any of you personally, board members or cabinet members. All I know is what I see here, and I watch the meetings or I'm present at the meetings, and your voting records and the state of the district is really all I can go on. And quite frankly, during most of our years here in the district, there has been one issue or scandal after another. At this point, something has to give. Like so many other people said, reading scores, graduation rate, athletics, financing, safety, the list goes on and on. There are well-documented issues in all of these areas and have been for quite some time. There needs to start being some accountability. I don't understand why people are so against it and insistent that some might have sinister agendas. I have not seen one statement of fact to support these claims. There are board members and administration officials up on the stage that have been here for a number of years, and nothing has changed. So yes, there needs to be some answers. And like Ms. Wallace said, we don't want to separate our board at 5 and 4. However, these new board members are trying to find these answers, and I commend them, because even when faced with malicious attacks on their character and their family, equating them to the KKK, they still come and they serve here every week for the children of Newburgh. And the woman that they've replaced Dr. Campbell with is also a professional Black woman. So that argument has no merit. Correct me, excuse me, sorry, I lost my place. These certain board members have not been here. They've only been here a year, but they are the problem. That's what I don't understand. Similar to what Mr. Capito said, excuse me if I mispronounce your name, this has been going on long before they were here, long before. And some of these board members have been here for quite some time. I don't understand what they could possibly be impeding upon. If I may be so bold as to say, I might be speaking for the same silent majority that Mr. Capino spoke about when I say thank you to these new board members for trying to enact change and get to the bottom of what has been going on in this district for years. I say this because most of the conversations around this topic with community members tell me so, that we are a silent majority. So many of you so many have chosen to not even attend these meetings because they have become such a spectacle, or dare to speak. Not me. I am a product of a public school. I am a public school teacher myself. I have 2 students in public school, and I will not sit idly by anymore while this district collapses and falls apart. I'm sorry. There's too many issues going on that need to be addressed. I will ask those of you that are trying to stifle the change, why? Do you know something we don't? I have to say that the social media comments are very concerning. There are some people that are insinuating they know what goes on in executive sessions of these meetings. How? How do people in our community know what is going on behind closed doors? Because that is what I read last night. And I've also heard conversations in this very room between board members or community members that have made me take serious pause. If there is truly no foundation for this investigation, which, correct me if I'm wrong, legally there has to be for an investigation to be started, then let it be proven as such. If there is no founding, it will come back as such. Let the process be. As far as this forensic audit, if the findings that were recently released are any indication that someone might need to dig in these books, I don't know what other indication we need. It's a huge concern and needs to be addressed immediately. If a forensic audit is what is needed to get to the bottom of it all, then as far as I'm concerned, that is money well spent. Something isn't adding up with all of these issues. And if you are choosing not to see it because of blind loyalty, you are the one impeding the progress in this district, not the ones demanding answers and accountability. We are failing our students on so many levels, and it is time for a monumental change. It is time to start having uncomfortable conversations, but in order to do so, we must first admit the truth in front of us. The status quo isn't working. And yes, those of you who have been here for years and years have to answer for it. I'm going to remain hopeful that positive change is coming and not just more of the same. Thank you.
Mr. Jaheed Morris.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Jahad Morris. I am born and raised from here in Newburgh, New York. I am a product of our community in that, I graduated Newburgh Free Academy. After graduating Newburgh Free Academy, I received a full scholarship to attend Western Kentucky University, in which I played Division I football. In doing so, I then went on to play professionally, right? So I got a chance to play in Canada, the NFL, as well as the AFL. So I've been all across America. So, what I simply want to say is in communities that, look similar to what our community looks like, some of the problems that we're facing are common, right? The biggest thing that I do want to address is what's going on in the state of the football program. So I graduated with a behavioral science degree, right? So my first job out was a behavioral youth counselor. In doing so, I understand the psyche, right, that is going on with our at-risk youth, to be quite frank. So at this moment in time, these guys are guys and girls, because it's spanning across multiple sports, as we know. So those coaches kind of coach multiple sports, so the impact is greater. But just to keep it on those 135 kids that usually comes out to that, the start of that football meeting, just thinking about, what their mental health is right now. I want to be of assistance to the district, so I'm here to, kind of talk to you guys, but also, talk to, the families of the Newburgh community, in which that I have a program that I have recently brought to this area, and we actually do recreational therapy. So right now I have 30 kids that span from Newburgh football, lacrosse, and a couple baseball guys. So I'm simply here to say, that I understand the great fate, that our community, our board, our city is under. But rest assured that I am here to be of assistance to you guys in any way that I possibly could. Again, my name is Jihad Morris. I represent Blazing Athletics, and it is blazingathletic.com. But you guys can easily log in, and you'll see what's going on. So thank you so much for your time.
Is there anybody else that would like to speak on non-agenda items? Please come to the podium.
Good afternoon, or good evening, rather. Hello to Dr. Bond and to the Board of Ed. Thank you for allowing us to speak.
We're three seniors from NFA Maine. Our names are Riley Maida,
Alexandria Crawford.
and Ava Thomas Pabon. I've had both a grandmother and a father who've taught in this district for many years.
My mother works as a special education teaching assistant.
And my mother is a teacher as well. As you can see, we are informed students and have a great investment in the way that our district runs.
Now, as 3 invested students, we are asking for more transparency. There are many questions we have for you, such as what's going on with our sports teams? Where's the money going? And why are our leaders who are supposed to be our role models arguing at meetings in the public? It doesn't give our district a good look. And sometimes on social media, we have to defend ourselves in the comments because they say, this district's stupid, this district is unsafe, I would never send my kid here. But as you see, we're 3 students that are seniors that are close to 4.0 or honor roll students. So we don't know what the issue is, but we just want it to be addressed and ended so we can enjoy the rest of our senior year with peace and confidence, knowing that we're gonna get out of here and be successful.
We've seen you waste money on personal vendettas, including the current suspension and investigation of the superintendent. It's become glaringly apparent to us and many others that some members of this board do not care or respect the oath of office that they took upon being sworn in. What we are asking as students in this district is transparency. Transparency, as well as for the Board of Education to stop wasting the time, money, and resources that should be going to us, our schools, and our classmates. The 3 of us have been a proud product of Newburgh Public Schools our entire lives. Thank you.
Yeah. And the last thing I would like to say is I'm the Executive Council President at Newburgh Free Academy. The students do not know what goes on. We're lucky to have parents that teach us what goes on and expose us to what goes on, but now we're asking you, as our leaders, as the people that are in charge of our education, to now be more transparent with the other students who aren't as lucky as us to know what goes on in this district, or know that they can come here and stand up for themselves and talk about what they're feeling, and how they want their years at NFA to be spent. Thank you so much.
Madam President, the 30-minute time has expired for non-agenda items.
I sent an email. Did you get my email today to go on the list to speak? I sent it at 1 o'clock today.
Let him talk.
Time's expired.
I sent an email.
I'll come back to the next one.
Mr. Shaw, would you provide some clarification for Ms. Wallace's comments, concerns?
Ms. Wallace raised a question about Lisa Rusk being a member of our law firm. While the website reviews might show her presence as a member of our law firm, that has not been the case for at least 6 years. So there is no relationship and hasn't been for some time. Also, it was presented that she's involved in the forensic audit. That isn't what her role would be. She would be an independent investigator and coordinator in certain title matters. Title 6, 7 of the Civil Rights Act, Title 9 of the ESCA, and that's to conduct independent investigations.
At this point, I'll turn it over to Dr. Buon.
Excuse me.
Mr.
So
DeRay.
I had my hand up after non-agenda items. I would just like to make a motion that we extend non-agenda for 5 minutes. I think we could afford the community 5 minutes of extra time.
Second.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Roll call.
5 minutes public comment. Ms. Thomasina Bello?
Yes.
Ms. Mackenzie Boucher?
Yes.
Ms. Victoria Boucher?
Yes.
Mr. Bergarelli?
Yes.
Mr. DeRay?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Ms. Politi?
Yes.
Mr. Stewart?
Yes.
Ms. Christine Bello?
Yes.
Non-agenda item time has extended. If you'd like to come to the podium, please step forward.
Good evening to our board president, to Dr. Buon. James Baldwin said, my name is Torrance Robinson. James Baldwin said, not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. I rise today under the burden of many unanswered questions regarding the decision-making and fiscal management of the district's budget by the board. Many of us observed and understood the presentation by the Deputy Superintendent regarding the 5% surplus, which is above the state allowable 4% surplus. What conclusions, my question, has been drawn from the prior superintendent's handling of the budget that the prior board voted on and ratified? That budget was voted on by the board. There's still a lingering question across the community about the removal of the prior superintendent. We understand that you cannot give out information during an ongoing investigation. How soon do you think it will be for the board to complete its investigation of the prior superintendent under the color of transparency, to know why the former superintendent was removed from her position? Will the eventual hearing be a public one or a closed one held behind closed doors? These are questions I have, and I have questions because all the questions I've asked up to now, I never get an answer for. So I'm simply asking questions. Let's move from mudslinging and name-calling and focus on why we should be here in the first place. The children. Now that's an idea, the children. Questions. What educational goals has the board established to address improved student academic achievement and school performance since the school year began? One question. Second question. What plans does the board have to improve reading and math scores across the district? Third question. Have prior superintendents made suggestions for curriculum materials that were denied by the board? What professional development plans are in place, if any, for teachers and principals? Two more. How many meetings did the board have with the prior superintendent regarding her overall performance? What was the outcome? Final question. How has the board worked with its past superintendents to form a meaningful partnership to benefit the scholars of our district? I am totally in agreement with the persons who have stood here and said we have to stop doing the dividing of the 5 and the 4. I agree with that wholeheartedly. But what I also hope for is that we'll be honest and continually transparent The young people had it right. They want transparency about what they want. The community wants transparency about how the superintendent was handled. I don't think that things should be done behind closed doors that we don't have a chance to comment on. And I want to thank you for allowing me the 5 minutes to speak, and I'm going to take my seat very soon. Here's the next point I want to make. If there is a clause in the deputy superintendent's contract allowing for her to fulfill the role of acting superintendent in the absence of the superintendent, I'm still wondering, why wasn't the deputy superintendent allowed to fulfill her role as acting superintendent? Just a question. If the acting superintendent has mentioned, well, I'm going to skip that. But allow me to say this. We talk about, I heard someone make the statement about putting one black person in for another black person to solve an argument. That's not it. And I really believe we should move past black and white and look at qualifications. And if persons are qualified to do a job, they should be allowed to do that job. And I really believe that no Board of Education can be effective for the students if both the superintendent and the Board of Education is not on the same page. If it's for the students, let's make it for the students. And may we stop the mudslinging and name calling. I used to be pretty good at that, but I've learned it doesn't work well and doesn't come out well in the end. Thank you so much.
Okay, so now I will, Mr. Howard.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to move that we go into executive session for personnel questions and advice from counsel.
Roll call.
Motion to go into executive session. Ms. Mackenzie Boucher?
Yes.
Ms. Victoria Boucher?
Yes.
Mr. Bergarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Duray?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? Ms. Politi?
Yes.
Mr. Stewart?
Yes.
Ms. Christine Bello?
Yes.
Ms. Thomasina Bello?
I'll turn the meeting over to Dr. Buon.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to take a moment to provide an update on two matters. There was a concern by parents regarding an accelerated program in the middle schools, and I want to assure our community that there will be a program for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade for next year. Secondly, I'm excited to inform you that our district has begun its literacy journey, aligning our practices with the science of reading. Our administrators will begin training with the Reading League tomorrow morning, and we've extended an invitation to all Board of Education members to attend this valuable training. Thank you for your continued support and commitment to the betterment of our school community. I will now turn it over to Ms. Roaring for our budget presentation.
Good evening. When we started our budget development process this year, we said we would be presenting by division. So this evening, I'm joined by the Curriculum and Instruction Division, Exceptional Learners and PPS, and Technology. And we'll be going through some additional areas of the budget this evening. Next slide, please. So as we continue through the budget development process over the next few weeks, we're continuing to solicit input from community members. We're providing updates throughout the budget development process, and we're sharing program and budget information by division to make it very understandable for everyone. Next slide, please. We've shared some of the various mandated expenses that we have to do every single year. You'll see some of these in more elaboration this evening as part of our presentation, particularly in the special education area and our tuition for out-of-district students. You'll also hear more about our testing and our E&L services. Next slide, please. As we've shared, our largest expense drivers are really our personnel, those that touch our students and facilitate our buildings every single day. Then our employee benefits, our student transportation, our out-of-district tuition, and our debt service. So this evening, we're going to start off with our curriculum and instruction. Dr. Elisa Soto and Dr. Shannon O'Grady will be presenting that portion of the presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Roaring. I was looking for the clicker. Oh, well. So the Curriculum and Instruction Division plays a vital role. Thank you. Next slide. See, that's why I wanted the clicker. I'm not good at this.
The Curriculum Instruction Division plays a vital role in making sure that every student has access to a high-quality education. We're responsible for the design and oversight of curriculum development, the provision of professional development, and the support of the instructional needs across our school. And that's all up there for you. Next slide, please. In this slide, you can see whom we oversee. In essence, our mission is to make sure that learning remains at the forefront of all of our efforts, whether that involves fostering an inspiring classroom environment, facilitating the professional growth of educators, or providing students with the resources necessary for their academic success. Next slide, please. Furthermore, we're committed to achieving these goals with the utmost efficiency, as we recognize that, as the saying goes, a budget is merely an estimate, that is, until it becomes a reality. And with that, I'll bring up my colleague, Elisa Soto.
Thank you, Dr. Grady. Next slide, please. Continue. Next slide. Continue. Continue. And again. Keep going. Wonderful, thank you. So our journey in CT is one of growth, innovation, and opportunity. As you can see, our programs equip students with 21st century skills, increase industry certifications, and strengthen workforce connections, ensuring our students graduate college and career ready. Together, we will shape the future of education and workforce development in our community. Next slide, please. At NECSD, we recognize that a strong career technical education program depends on highly qualified educators who have industry-aligned certifications to ensure that our students receive the best possible education. So, we are actively investing in program expansion and professional development. Next slide, please. Continue, thank you. So we are asking for ongoing professional development to keep teachers updated on the latest industry trends, technology, and instructional methods. This division is committed to building a robust CTE program, ensuring that both teachers and students have the resources, training, and support needed for success. Our school libraries are not just spaces for books. They are dynamic learning hubs that foster literacy, research skills, and digital citizenship. Our librarians collaborate with teachers to enhance curriculum and provide access to diverse resources. This is the budget proposal we are asking for, where our 16 libraries promote a love for reading. Athletics. We are proposing a comprehensive budget proposal for the athletics department. This proposal reflects our commitment to advancing our athletic programs. We provide a wide range of athletic opportunities to support students' physical, mental, and academic growth. This is the budget we are proposing to invest for excellence. As we strive to elevate our athletics program, this budget proposal is designed to align with strategic goals of enhancing athletic performance, upgrading facilities, and expanding community engagement. By investing strategically in areas that drive both immediate performance and long-term success, we've identified key investments in new equipment and professional development that are crucial to maintaining our competitive edge. We also want to support our athletic director by having a person work with our health and PE teachers, expand professional development opportunities in sports at all grade levels, and prioritize student well-being through nutrition, mental health, and academic support. The Fine and Performing Arts mission is to inspire lifelong learners and participants in the arts, fostering creativity and expression among our students. We saw today that our program not only nurtures artistic talent, but also enriches cultural dialogue
and community engagement. The budget will allow us to offer a robust curriculum that includes general music instruction, K through 8, band, orchestra, chorus ensembles, grades 4 through 12, general art instruction, K through 8, 9 through 12, art and music courses for graduation purposes, and dance instruction. We would like to add a budget for professional development memberships at a cost of $2,700. This strategic investment is designed to provide our teachers with unparalleled access to industry resources, specialized training, and networking opportunities that are essential for staying at the forefront of artistic innovation. Thank you, and I'll pass the clicker off to Dr. Freeman Mack.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Soto. I kind of like saying Dr. O'Grady, Dr. Soto, Dr. Freeman Mack. Sounds good. So as we think about equity and access, this is the divisional structure for that area as well. And these are the divisional goals. The divisional goals within equity and access do align to the oversight of this divisional area. There is a distinct and direct focus on accountability, on examining high-quality extended learning opportunities for our students K-12, for strengthening school, family, and community partnerships to improve student success, ensuring compliance, and ensuring a fair and equitable disciplinary process. Please pardon me for reading. I usually don't read from my slides. And again, these are those areas of oversight. As it relates to current staffing, that comes directly out of the general fund. There are 3 directors in this divisional area. 1 position is currently vacant. We are looking to fill that. That is the director of grants. There are 4 hearing officers. Hearing officers come out of the general fund. They are paid as it relates to, they're not permanent employees. They're paid by the hearing. So however many hearings they have, that's how they are paid out. There are also 5 parent coordinators, 1 principal clerk who is full-time, and 1 bilingual typist who supports the hearing office. Also, this is the proposed budget, and I'm happy to say that there are no changes in this budget area. Things will remain the way that they are. And again, equity and access is funded by the general fund in some ways, but most of it really does come from the grants that are brought into the district that supports what we're doing there. I will turn it over now, I believe, thank you, to Ms. Kimberly Roaring.
So this evening, we're going to hear from Mr. Jason Gerard and Mr. Michael Jernigan on our exceptional learners and PPS programs.
Good evening, members of the board, senior staff, Dr. Bond, community members. We are grateful to be here tonight serving our wonderful community of Newburgh. My name is Jason Gerard. I am one of the directors of Special Education Exceptional Learners Division here in Newburgh.
Michael Jernigan, Director of People Personnel Services for our district.
And again, we're presenting together because we both come under the umbrella of exceptional learners. So basically what we do, this first slide is just an oversight of what the role of the Exceptional Learners Division is in the service of our children. It is completely mandated services as far as Part 200 in the regulations is what we're covering and what our budget is going to be based on serving those students tonight. This slide is primarily just explaining the staffing that's required to provide the services for all the IEPs in the district. And along with lines of that, this is the proposed budget that is currently being asked for. And this is specific to just the exceptional learners and the teachers and the instructional staff that support all of our students. So there are a number of factors. I feel funny bending over. Can you hear me can you hear me still? Okay. So there are a number of factors that are going to be impacting the budget. The biggest part that I think is going to be important for everyone to understand is the significant increase that we're seeing in our community, students with autism. Approximately 6 years ago, we may have had, I believe it was around 170 students that were classified with autism. Going into the upcoming school year, that number has reached 350. That's double the number of students with autism that we're seeing in our community and coming into our school buildings. So we need to really be prepared and continue to provide the support necessary to work and provide the services needed for them to be successful in school. So that's like the biggest increase. Again, we are also looking at equitable services for all. So another component of what we need to be focused on for next year is increasing the access for our students with multiple disabilities. Our Gardnertown classroom that we have currently, we will possibly be looking to do an expansion to. And that's really what this slide kind of outlines, the staffing that's going to be necessary to provide those additional services for at least opening one additional classroom for our students with autism coming in from CPSC to CSC. So we want to make sure that we have that available, and that's what this slide generally speaks to. In addition to that, the proposal to potentially open another classroom section for our 913 or our students with multiple disabilities to continue to maintain the work towards equity.
So I'm going to speak on health services. Health services deal directly with our school nurses. We keep them trained in understanding bloodborne and airborne pathogens, also understanding the supports that students need throughout the school district. Some of our students have individual needs that are presented that they have health concerns. So our nurses have to stay aware and informed of those health concerns from school to school and how to support every student in that school building. Current staffing, we have 28 school nurses, 1 health service facilitator, 10 health clerks and 6 health aides, and also a medical director. There's an outside physician that we refer to whenever we need support to have understandings of any other greater diseases or supports that students might need medically. Our current budget, there is going to be an increase, and we're going to speak about why that process is happening, and Jason's going to give a more in-depth look into why that process is happening and where there is the increase for our students.
Right, so this slide is basically speaking to the, again, increase of students that require medical services on the bus rides back and forth to school, and especially in our out-of-district placements. Our out-of-district placements the bus runs can last from between 15 minutes to upwards of an hour one way. So for our students have medically complex cases that require that medical oversight, it's not something that can be covered by the bus monitor or the bus driver. It requires the oversight of a medical professional. So that's where a great portion of that, and due to the increases in some of our students that are coming up, especially from CPSC to CSC, we're seeing a greater portion of that happening in that transition in these past few years than before. So that's where a large increase is coming from.
We're also going to talk about guidance. Please don't call them guidance. Please call them school counselors. It's very important that you do that. So with school counselors, they work directly with our students with their Tier 1 supports. Tier 1 supports in SEL, social emotional learning. That's in K through 12. Also, when we start talking about secondary, that's when we start looking at students transitioning from high school into college and from also middle school into high school. So school counselors, I did it by mistake, my apologies. School counselors are there to support students as they make that transition and also inform them of what's going on, but also give them the direct support and social emotional learning activities that are there to support them and what's in the community that can help them progress and move forward. Our current budget is going to see an increase. One of the things that we're looking to do is they're providing more training for our school counselors. We'll also talk more about this with our social workers. We're looking to provide training in the areas of critical incident stress management, which happens after a negative incident might happen in a school. Also to increase the support of what's called CSTAG, which is something that helps to alert staff, that helps them to identify students that might need support in early interventions.
So we're talking about school psychologists now. We made this transition because school psychologists, many folks don't know, but you cannot have a full committee in a committee of special education unless a school psychologist is on that committee. So we value very, very highly our school psychologists for the work that they do, specifically with exceptional learners and the CSE. So basically, looking at what school psychologists are functioning within the district, they go across the entire spectrum of services that are offered, from counseling to evaluation to SEL, social emotional learning. They're involved in every part of that process, specifically in those areas of behavior. So functional behavioral assessments, behavior intervention plans, and the like. Our school psychologists are primary, front and center when it comes to any type of CSE process that's in the building. They also participate, I should say, to some degrees in response to intervention, RTI teams, as well as the MTSS, multi-tiered systems of support. School psychologists are the backbone of what we do every day when providing those general services to our students. And we have currently 19 in the district. As far as the budget is concerned, we are looking to increase. We have in the past few years through attrition. We have moved from 22, we're now down to 19. We really need to move in the direction of having more, so there is an additional request for a full-time, for 1 FTE in this area.
There you go. All right. We're also dealing with school social workers. School social workers deal with Tier 2 and Tier 3 support. That is more directed support for students individualized in the areas of social emotional need. They also do mandated counseling with many of the students and also do a lot of crisis intervention with students as well. Currently, we have 18 social workers, which consists of licensed master social workers and also licensed clinical social workers. Our licensed clinical social workers are recognized by the state as giving that counseling and being highly skilled professionals in those areas. And we continue the training in our district to make sure that all of our social workers will eventually meet that criteria. Our current budget as well for the social workers will have an increase. It's the same thing with them as we look at increasing the the crisis intervention stress management support and also the CSTAG training for them as well, to create that support for them to be able to respond and support our students on a basis of the whole entire school. We are also looking at providing more programs that we are looking to provide stress management for students and how they can deal with their interpersonal interactions amongst other students. And this is the end of the presentation.
Our new Assistant Superintendent for Data and Technology will be presenting this area of the budget tonight, Mr. McGrath.
Thank you, Ms. Wright. Good evening, everyone. So we're going to talk about the data and information and instructional technology. That's a lot, so let me kind of break it out a little bit in terms of what the department looks like. So we have the information and technology leg of it, which includes our network, our systems, our training, our director of technology leg is a vacant position right now. All the technicians, all of the data, everything that goes to New York State, and I'll explain that in some detail in a minute, as well as the registration leg of our department, which talks to what happens when students come to the district. Roughly 2,000 new applications this year alone as they come in. And when people come in, you have to appreciate the emotionality around that. So our role is to help them process the paperwork, make sure everything's in order, walk them through the process, and then try and connect them digitally so as a part of family engagement. And so this year, again, this year alone, this school year alone, I should say, 21 parent portal pop-ups where we said, parents, come in, we want to invite you, we want to talk to you, we want to help you connect with your child's academic life digitally, as well as 8 open houses. We monitor the foster and non-resident tuition to make sure that that data is intact. A lot of data integrity work happens here. And if there's a verification, so if the parent moves, there's certain things that we go through to make sure that things happen appropriately, legally, and with data integrity. When students leave the district prior to their graduation, we also assist in that process. We just want to make sure that the school that they're going to gets all the receiving data, as well as we report to where they're going to New York State, because New York State requires us to do that. Again, there's a lot of compliance in this work, and it's very important that we do things very methodically and very systematically. Additionally, if you were to say, what is the heart of a school district? From a systems point of view, some will say the financial system, and I wouldn't argue with that, but I would also say the student information system, which houses all of the things around the students, from their schedules to their grades. That is really the heart of a school district in terms of how its day-to-day operations. So we manage all of those systems as well and assist, and when things come up and people have issues, they call us and we walk them through that. Additionally, and I talked about compliance, we are required to send to New York State SED a lot of student data. And this data we send, over 26 different categories, and every week, if you include the student attendance data, is over 1 million pieces of data every single week that we have to check and verify is accurate and has data integrity. So there's a lot of work that goes into making sure that we are accurately reporting to New York State. That drives a lot of things, including district funding, district status, et cetera. So a lot of care goes into this work to make sure that it is accurate. In terms of the instructional component, and this is important, we provide a district device, a Chromebook, to every single student. Some of them take it home, some don't. We assist with over 24 pieces of software, core pieces of software, to help them access that software and improve their instruction. We work with the teachers, we support them. We do a lot of day-to-day troubleshooting with teachers, just-in-time, that's JIT, just-in-time training. So we do workshops, but also sometimes people need hey, I took that workshop 6 months ago, and now I need it and I forget. We're there. So we are there to support and help people use the tools digitally, because as we saw tonight, when things go wrong, we rely so heavily on computers. It's really important that we have support. And so that's part of our roles. Additionally, we also manage all of the network things. And I just wanted to list some of the systems, because a lot of this stuff happens, and people think it happens automatically, and nothing happens automatically. It all happens with intent. And there's people behind that, whether it's our network infrastructure, our server infrastructure, the internal connections, the district-wide fiber network, which stretches miles, as well as some of the different things, our systems. We've actually gone back recently and started to look at how do we recheck all of these things and update these things. One of the things that we talked about recently is AI and its role in the world. We now have to go back and make sure that our systems are ready for that change. So there's a lot of work that happens in the background. You heard HR last time talk about they're getting ready to update and modernize some of their systems. We're going to be part of that. That's all part of our role, to help them go from where they are to where they want to get. So what we do is we drive systems and we help manage systems, and we are the people behind the people very often. FOIL requests are something else that's a big part of what we do. Again, a lot of compliance work. E-rate, I want to talk about E-rate because that saves the district millions of dollars every year. So by working through that program, that's used. And integrations, getting things to talk to each other. Again, we are moving forward, and just know that in technology, nothing is the same yesterday as it will be tomorrow. Things are moving constantly, and part of our role is to make sure the district is poised and ready to take advantage of all the things that are happening in the world. Thank you. Dr. Roy.
So Mr. McGrath did have a couple of additional funding requests that are on this slide this evening. One is to upgrade one of his positions.
How did I not say those things? I'm so sorry. So excited about the AI. Thank you for that. So one of the things that we do want to do is to improve our help desk systems, right? And by taking, we have somebody who's a clerk, and I'd like to move that position to a help desk position, again, to better serve our students. We're also looking, and you heard me talk about reworking some of the systems, and having a Google admin stipend will help us kind of get some of that work done. And finally, and this is an important conversation that I'm having with many vendors, they're very concerned that if a lot of these tariffs do happen the way they're predicted to happen, we're going to see sharp price increases. So they predicted that for us, and so the ask is to poise us in a position where we're not caught off guard. Since we believe that's going to happen, we want to make sure that we at least raise the question, should we be ready for it? Thank you. And I'm done for this time, for real. Thank you, everyone.
So as we continue through the budget development process, we're going to continue to review our program supports and operational needs. We're continuing our staffing reviews with building principals, so started this week, and they will continue next week. They'll be finalized before we come before you on March 11th, and that will be our next budget update presentation.
Are there any questions? Mr. Stewart?
Yes, on the data and technology, I know the last few years I've seen on the reports that we need to secure the server rooms. We need to get that added, because that has to be taken care of ASAP.
So, could not agree with you more. In fact, that was one of the things that I first noticed. I don't have a price for that, being fairly new to the district. I can tell you that we are bringing in vendors to bring us prices. It's something that we absolutely have to address. So just to kind of help everybody who may not be familiar with that concept, our server rooms are where all of our equipment are housed. There are special environmental conditions that you want to see. You want to see certain cooling, certain temperatures, you want to see certain humidities. If you don't have those in place, the wear and tear in the equipment happens much sooner. You get more outages. It's just not what you would do conducive for your equipment. So you've spent a lot of money on this equipment, now you need to protect it. So he's 100% correct. What we need to be doing is looking at our data closets and finding ways to make the conditions the way they're supposed to be. So I'm still investigating, I don't have a number, but you're absolutely right. It's something that is on the radar. I have vendors coming in. I've already done 2 walkthroughs with 2 vendors, and I have another one coming in. So absolutely on the list.
I'm just going to add to that really quickly. That's something that we talked about as soon as Mr. McGrath arrived, and we're looking to see what we can do this year, not just going into next year. And one of the other tenets of that is making sure that those areas are secure.
Mr. Howard?
Thank you, Madam President. So, thank you for that presentation, but I'm a firm believer that this is the time to have these conversations when we're talking about budget, and we're talking about what the needs of the district are. And I had a few questions for each department, and I think it's best to ask these questions now than after the budget is done, and then we say what we should have done or what we could have done or what we might do next year and kicking the can down the road. So, in regards to equity and access, Dr. Mack, can you talk to us about equity and access and what it looks like in our district? And give us a snapshot of where we are, and then give me a snapshot of where we want to be, and then what we have to do to get there.
Can you be a little bit more specific?
Okay, when we say equity, the Department of Equity and Access, what is that impacting? Are we giving you what you need in that department to do what you need to do with the student population and what we have in our district? And this is a time for honesty.
So, Mr. Bear and I have been working to examine the code of conduct, to look at the disproportionality that exists within our suspension rates, and to examine the language within it. We have put out a call for community members, focus teams of students and parents to come out and examine the code of conduct. We want to be able to create an opportunity for our community members, our students, and our parents to really understand what exists within the code of conduct and what it is. There are 12 pages within the front of it which really do support restorative practices, so we do want to focus on that more. When we think about welcoming and affirming environments and really examining what we do and how we welcome students into our classrooms and how we welcome families into our buildings, that is more of an area that we're looking for as well. We currently do operate with a lot of grants within equity and access, and there are aspects of it that are in the general fund. So yeah, if I could win the lottery and get $350 million for equity and access, there's a lot that we could do. But unfortunately, that's not the case. So we'll continue to look at alternatives to suspension. It would be great if, we could create a center for our new learners, our newcomers when they come into the district, to look at how we can, provide an opportunity where they can get registration, family and community engagement services, where we can partner and continue to partner with Cornerstone and St. Luke's and whoever else we're partnering with to ensure that, families have information about vaccinations and coming to school and whatever it is they need to do. But we don't have that luxury at this time. So we are looking to do some of those things and create more opportunities. I don't think any division up here has the money that they need.
So that was my question from a budgetary component. Is there anything else that we can do as a board or have conversations around so that we can get to that place and get to that space that we're talking about?
I think it's important to advocate and be aware of our federal funding as well as our general funding. I think it's important for people to be informed within the federal government and the state, you know, in the New York State Department of Education, to find out what's going to happen, what's not going to happen. Are we going to get the funding that we need? Because right now some things are caught up and we don't know. So when we look at the projections that we're trying to create within this budget, some of that is really predicated on what federal funding we are going to get. And then sometimes we just don't know what we're going to get.
Thank you.
Mackenzie.
So in similar vein to Mr. Howard, for the exceptional learners crew, is this really enough? It's one full-time teacher, 4 TAs, 0.6 occupational therapists for the needs of our district and what you said. Is this truly like a full amount? And I think, added on to that, this is just administration's perspective, correct? Not the bargaining unit's ask into this. This is just your guys's look, not the NTA and CSCA in that as well.
So to answer the question about the first part of it, it is a projection. And as we know, each year students are either classified because they meet eligibility or they're declassified because they've made gains and growth in their goals, so they no longer require the service to learn, right? So there are going to be some fluctuations throughout the course of the year. There's also students that move into the district from other places, and Newburgh happens to be a high transition area. So we do get an influx of a number of students. This is a first run. We've reviewed what we have, the current projections for each of those areas, and with the programming that we currently have, the additional programming that we want, we believe that this budget is fiscally sound. Okay, but again, there are fluctuations that do happen with special education. Yes.
Victoria Boucher.
Can I footnote that really quickly before we move on? I think one of the other things we want to remember is that they're going through CSEs through the rest of the spring. So this is our best information at this time. Unfortunately, we have to finalize and the board has to vote on a budget before that process is done. So there may be some changes that need to occur as we move into the next budget year with some staffing. I think the other piece that we haven't really talked about here is we expect that we will be bringing forward an additional increase in out-of-district tuition based on the required out-of-district placements, and that's not reflected here this evening.
Thank you. I also have a question for exceptional learners, a couple. I see on this list that you have only 2 CSE, CPSE chairpersons. Is that accurate?
Yes.
So does this mean that there's 2 people chairing all of the IEP meetings?
Yes, there are 2 folks that are chairing the CPSE meetings for the 3s and the 4s. We have Ms. Smith, Jessica Smith, who is at the primary point, and then the CPSC to CSE transition at 4, grade, age 4 up. That's Ms. Kelly Kane. So those are the 2 folks that are our primary go-tos. We do participate as directors and supervisors. We do stopgap, and when there's other cases that come up that require our oversight, we also work with them.
So again, to have an honest conversation, do you think 2 is enough? Because you're talking about doubling just the classification of autism.
Right, so it is enough right now. That double in the classification has been over the course of the years, right? So a lot of the students that are currently in the district that are autistic, they're now started off in CPSE, right? But now they're like maybe in 4th and 5th grade. So we're seeing that transpire and transition through. We do have a very large number this year. So it's 70 total that are transitioning into school age. 30 of which we're looking to try to find homes for in district buildings. And then there's approximately 40, to speak to what Ms. Reverend just said, those potentially could be going out of district. So, that is a real number, but that doesn't change because with those 70, we've also had reductions in other, right? So the CPSC number has not necessarily grown that dramatically. It's just the students with autism has grown.
Okay, my concern was time frame because I know there are compliance things that we have to have in the department. So again, if there is a circumstance where you need more hands on deck to make sure we are in compliance, then I would like to hear about it. I think the board would like to hear about that.
Absolutely. Transparency and communication is important. Mr. Howard?
Yeah, Mr. Howard.
Thank you, Madam President. So, in the areas of social workers and psychologists, I know we have the demographics that we deal with, the populations that we deal with. Is that a fair number when we're talking about 19? We're talking about 19 social workers and 19 psychologists for 12,000 students? Is that the number?
So with, when it comes down to social workers, they work with a very specialized group. They're directed to work with the building, but that's why we also have the school counselors. They're there as a buffer for supports to work along with the school social workers and the psychologists. It's a team effort when it comes down to PPS. Everybody's working together in tandem. That's why school counselors are looked at as tier 1. They're looked at as the mass group. They work with the largest proportionality of students. If you look at the size and the amount of school counselors that we have, that's the largest group. The next behind that will become the social workers. The social workers support that tier 2 and tier 3, and psychologists also support that tier 2 and tier 3. The school counselors are used there to reference to any supports that they might need to send those students and say that these students might need a smaller group and supports in those areas, but it's something that we work in tandem, especially with exceptional learners, to make sure that group is supported altogether.
So in your estimation, are we addressing the social and emotional needs of all of our students in our district with the numbers that we have?
I can say that we are doing our best that we can. We can always have more, but our numbers are also impacted by what happens with exceptional learners, because the social workers do have mandated counseling that they do support students with, and they're at a point where they get to capacity. So we have to see how many students that they receive in comparison to how many more social workers that we may need to hire to make sure we're supporting exceptional learners with their mandated counseling that they need.
Okay.
I would like to add to that.
Sure.
Mr. Howard, I'd like to add to that if you look at the general trend with panorama data from our students, there has been a sense of belonging has improved. So if we're trending in the right direction, I think we need to continue to support and to foster that work that is happening.
And let me preface my questions. I just don't like children falling in the gaps. It's an issue that I have, and when I see a child that needs something, and I'm in a specific building, and a child has a need, but that social worker is in another building. We have social workers splitting buildings, and I know that's what we need. What's what we're doing, but is that what we want to do?
So I think it's also important to note that there's different models, but I think with the direction that we're headed, New York State has a model that speaks to like up to 500 students per clinician, so yeah, so in essence, we're very, very close to meeting it. So if you do 12,000 divided by 20, I want to say it's like 600.
It's about 600 too.
So we're close to that. Adding another psychologist on our end would assist with that. I'm not certain what it looks like with the social workers at this point, because again, we're looking at it from kind of a different lens. But we are in the ballpark. I mean, it could benefit from more, right? But where we are is in the right trajectory.
No, I appreciate your candidness, and like I said, I'm only asking these questions because I really am concerned about our scholars, and I know when they need something, they should have it. And I know sometimes we're not in a position to provide it, but this is the time to ask for it.
Right. So if I could just add one thing there quickly, in Mr. Bayer's absence, and I know Ms. Peterson probably also wants to add something. We went down to social workers coming into this year. Could our students benefit from having those two positions back? Yes, they could.
Ms. Peterson.
I was going to state that clearly as well. When we think about student support is an umbrella. It is not something where any one particular group, so psychologists, social workers, and school counselors are also important, but also school culture and climate, as well as classroom management, welcoming and fun environments, also produce a healthy environment for students to learn. So yes, it's important for our tier 2 and 3 intervention pieces to be in place. There always could be account for more, and I think that they were not going to say it, they were trying to say it, but we are saying, yes, always another additional social worker. Yes, a psychologist to help with the assessment and the IEP process is important for us, but we also have to be fiscally responsible in terms of how we make sure that when building a budget and projecting, that we can get the entire district needs met. So we'll let them off the hook and say, yes, it would always be important to have those pieces, but we also understand that the request, what is most critical right now is ensuring that we get our OTPT, that we get our health services done and keep our students safe, and they have to make those decisions throughout the budgetary process. There's also, you know, we are in the IEP. I know that many times Mr. Baird this year came back to request more positions. That is for that reason, because everything is a projection.
Mr. Stewart?
All right, I got two questions. So for the exceptional learners, you're talking about adding a classroom maybe at Garnertown. Now, it's pretty easy to put up a posting and add a new psychologist or whatever, but it's going to take a long time to add a classroom. So while we're doing one classroom with the projections with the autism and stuff, why don't we add two? Because it costs half as much to put an extra classroom, two on, as to do one, since they're there already. So
Yes,
to forecast for the future.
I'm sorry.
Ms. Peterson?
So the way that special education projects classroom is based on what they're seeing from their students. I do agree, a part of this expansion that they're asking for is that they're forecasting at the current program that we have in Bombville, that we're gonna need to expand up to the middle school level. So everything is based on the students that are in front of us, and that's how we plan year over year. It is important for us to have the facilities, the teachers, and all those things in place. But even if we don't have those things, the alternative is to then place those students at a district, which is more of a fiscal cost. So we have to plan for what is in front of us, and we have to make sure that in the recruitment and the planning of those courses, that we have the facilities and other things in place.
So if I can just add to that, one of the challenges we've had as we've brought program into the district is recruiting that staff in a timely manner and making sure we can properly staff those classrooms. So we have to ensure that as we're looking at whether or not we should be doing it in-house or out of district. Appropriate placements as well as the recruitment of staff. We've talked about the need to look at recruiting for these staff very early.
Mr. Stewart?
One last question. In the fine and performing arts, it said professional development memberships, 2,700. Is that a one-time membership for everybody? Is that individual? And what does that entail?
It is a one-time membership for a group of students. That is correct, annual basis.
Okay, and what does that professional development entail for them?
So, let me just pull up my notes. Well, it allows for our teachers to attend professional development, and that ranges within music composition, music history, theory, fine arts, just supporting our teachers in learning the latest techniques within fine performing arts, so that way they can transfer that knowledge onto our students. It also allows for them to meet with other artists so that they can develop artistic innovation within our students.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Boucher?
I'm so sorry, exceptional learners. I have one more question for you. I'm just hoping you can, I'm glad this is the screen that's up. So some community members have asked me, what does 0.6 FTE occupational therapist mean? Can you just kind of give a breakdown of what those numbers mean?
Yes. Absolutely. So 0.06 would, 0.6, I mean, that would equate to 3 days a week. So we're saying that generally speaking, right, this is a generality, we can see our providers giving up to 9 sessions in a day. So this would mean 27 sessions per week that is going to be fulfilled by a 0.6 FTE.
And then my follow-up to that is for CPSE, our district doesn't cover those services. Those are outsourced, correct, for the evaluations?
Yes, so CPSE, we work with the county, right? So the district is the umbrella responsible for meeting, determining the service, and then we contract with the county. Although this year we did work through with the 4410, which enables us to work with our own staff, so that's helpful, but it's not fulfilling the greater need that the county was really, tasked to deal with. So I know they're working very hard to get the services as well, but, we work in collaboration.
Thank you.
Mr. DeRay.
No, really quickly, if I may. In some cases, we have part-time OT/PT, and so what we're looking at is increasing that FTE.
Mr. DeRay.
Sure. My question's on server space. You had mentioned that we need to upgrade our server rooms. You also mentioned that we have to, I'll say, digitalize our HR, which will probably take up server space. Do we evaluate migrating off-site? Do we use off-site servers?
So it's a great question. Thank you for asking that. So a lot of our stuff is actually in the cloud already, right? Nobody knows where the cloud is specifically, but it's in the cloud. So all kidding aside, the cloud is just, there are servers multiple places throughout the country. So a lot of the systems that we use actually are already in the cloud. So we do keep certain servers on-prem for different reasons, security servers, for example, and then we have fewer servers now than we did way back when. This problem that we're talking about exists because we keep adding more connectivity, right? The number of nodes we have, the more switches we have, the more heat that generates. So even though there's less equipment, it's actually running hotter. But also there was a mention before about security, and I want to kind of talk about that too for a second, because having those closets cool and the right humidity, but also having them perfectly secure. So we want to make sure, I had it on the slide and I didn't address it. Cybersecurity is a big concern of ours, and we always want to make sure that we are looking at it both from a physical attack, somebody coming in and trying to do something, or somebody from overseas doing something. So we're trying to close every door, we monitor things, we do a lot of time and effort around making sure that we are secure, because school districts are becoming an increasing target. We know that. So getting those closets to be efficient and having those right conditions will prolong the life, but also keep that data moving the way it needs to. I hope that answers your question.
Ms. Boucher.
So I'm not sure who this would technically be addressed to, but I know something we've kind of spoken about as a board is translation services, both either at meetings or just at events, either it be with technology or, just in general with a person. So are we accounting for that in this budget? Because I know we've talked about it, and it's obviously a financial, constraint, but I want to make sure that we're moving forward with that in some way.
Onyx has her hand.
Ms. Pearson.
That's like one of the probably 15 or 20 things I did not transfer over to Mr. McGrath. And I'm not sure for budgetary purchases, what Mrs. Roaring would let us know if it's under technology or board expense. So we'll have that conversation and get that information over to you, because it was provided before what the cost would be.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Resolution 6.3, resolution to approve the 2025-2026 district calendar. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Victoria Boucher?
Yes.
Mr. Bergarelli?
Yes.
Mr. DeRay?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? Ms. Politi?
Yes.
Mr. Stewart?
Yes.
Ms. Christine Bello?
Yes.
Ms. Thomasina Bello?
Yes.
Ms. Mackenzie Boucher?
Yes.
Mr. Bergarelli?
Thank you, Madam President. Real quick, I didn't want to delay the budget speak, but Dr. Bourne, I did have a question for you. You mentioned something about the Reading League, and we're going to be sending teachers for training under the Reading League. Have we signed a contract with them? I have a couple questions in regard to that. Contract with them, cost, length of term, how many teachers are we going to be sending, how many administrators? How does it integrate into our existing reading programs? Thank you.
Those are quite a few questions, so I'll start with the first
I can certainly repeat as you need.
So the first training that's happening tomorrow is a cost of $4,000, and we have a contract for that. It's a full-day training. And they are going to train approximately virtually a little bit close to 100 of our administrators in this district, as well as our coaches. Once we have the initial administrator training, then we're going to look at the further trainings that are needed for our staff. No matter what the size of the group, full-day trainings are 4,000, half-day trainings are 2,500 from the Reading League.
Is that the same link that you had sent out to us, that training?
That is that link.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, Ms. Paletti.
Dr. Bond, I know you're new here at the table. If you could speak in the microphone, it's hard to hear you when you back up like this. Nobody can hear you around the table.
I apologize, I thought I was.
Mr. Howard.
Thank you, Madam President. So, Dr. Bourne, ARC is out now. We're doing the reading learning.
ARC is not out. ARC is currently the reading program that we have. We're not asking teachers to use it with fidelity because there's many few things wrong with it. However, what we're looking to do is train teachers on best practices based on research on how to teach reading. We're not looking for a program. We're looking to make sure that our teachers are experts, pre-K to 12, to help our children learn how to read. So this process is going to take a bit of time because we're training them to become experts in reading.
So will we continue to have the reading specialists in each building, or will those positions be done with?
We need reading specialists in our building, and we need them to be even more trained in things like Wilson Reading, Wharton Gillingham, to reach our Tier 3 learners who need more assistance.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Boucher.
So to just confirm, the current curriculum is ARC plus supplementation.
The current program that we have as a district is ARC. In the younger grades, they have brought in Haggerty as one of the supplements for kindergarten, and I believe it's going down to pre-K.
Dr. Bourne, if you don't mind. So I'm a layperson, so please help me out. So when we're talking about ARC and we're talking about the program that's going to be started tomorrow, are teachers going to have the option what they do in each building? Or will it be something district-wide to say this is what we want to be done in our buildings, or will it be individualized?
The training will be district-wide for every single teacher, and we're going to expect our leaders in our building, which is why we're starting with the administration, to help lead that charge. They are the instructional leaders, and they're going to lead the charge in literacy.
So you can basically have in different buildings using different programs for reading, correct? In regards to ARC, reading, learning, the program that we're starting tomorrow, Gillingham. So, like I said, excuse me, I'm a layperson, so just please help me out, because I'm hearing different things.
We are not training on a program tomorrow. We're looking at beginning the science of reading training on how to teach reading. You don't need a program.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Ms. Paletti.
Okay, so what I'm understanding is we're doing additional training. That's great. That's wonderful. But we are going to keep a core reading program in place for a baseline. Is that accurate?
As we begin this journey, we're going to look for programs that work. ARC does not work. But we can't take everything away right now. We can't.
So I agree. What would be the timeline then for a rollout? Because that's concerning.
Once we have the administrative training, then we as a district are going to plan that rollout. This is the first step in that.
Okay, but then will there be an across-the-board core reading program for teachers to use? A
That-
roadmap?
There will also be not only that, but we're looking at a system to identify reading for every single child in this district.
Mhm.
That is based on oral reading fluency and can identify where children are at in reading. Not something that is, maybe they're fourth grade, maybe they're this, maybe they're that. 'Cause
Sure.
we need to identify them in order to help them.
I look forward to the information being brought to us as we move forward on this, because it is a very nervous transition. I agree that we need supplemental training. That's always good. Professional development is always welcomed. But I'm concerned about throwing babies out with the bathwater.
I don't mind throwing the baby out with the bathwater if it's not working and it's been failing our children.
Let me restate that. That's a matter of opinion. Could we do better?
It's not a matter of opinion.
Well, that is, because we asked for data and we can look at that.
And I give data. I live and die by data.
Well, you gave iReady data last time, and we can talk about real data, New York State test scores, and we can look at building by building if we really want to talk about data, and we don't have that available to us right now. So that data might show something differently. I'm not saying that we can't move away from ARC. What I'm saying is that we don't throw out an existing reading program with nothing else in its place. That's risky.
Mr. Bergarelli.
Thank you. So the desire is to move away from ARC at some point. We have a contract with ARC, though. When does that expire?
As of now, to my understanding, we are not ordering any new materials through ARC. The PD that they've had, they haven't done it this year, so we have pretty much paid ARC, and we have all the materials.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Howard?
Thank you. Dr. Bourne, so ARC is not a program, it's a resource, correct?
ARC is a program.
It is a program.
A program that does not work. And if you look at the New York State reading scores, they're lower than the iReady.
Okay, so another component that I think we struggle with in our district and our children, is there a writing? Because does any of the things that we're doing include writing for the children?
ARC does not have a strong writing program, and it is also not developmentally appropriate. But you are correct, reading and writing go hand in hand.
Right.
So as we craft what we're going to be doing with the Reading League and with changing literacy, moving towards the science of reading, writing will be an important component of
So
that.
there's a writing component in science of reading?
There's writing, there's vocabulary, there's content knowledge, there's a whole bunch of things on how we teach children to read. There's morphology.
Okay, thank you.
There's the science to the reading.
Okay. Okay, so now I will turn it over to the clerk of the board.
Thank you, Madam President. I have the approval of the minutes from February 11th, 2025.
Can I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second? Roll call?
Mr. Bergarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Duray?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? Ms. Politti?
Yes.
Mr. Stewart?
Yes.
Ms. Christine Bello?
Yes.
Ms. Thomasina Bello?
Yes.
Ms. Mackenzie Boucher?
Yes.
Ms. Victoria Boucher?
Yes.
Potential Board of Education candidates, information packets are available if you're interested in running for the board. There will be 3 seats up in the election. The 3 seats are currently held by Mr. Duray, Mr. Stewart, and Ms. Victoria Boucher. You would need to get 100 signatures from the qualified voters of the Newburgh and Large City School District. Those 100 signatures petitions are due back in the clerk's office by April 30th at 5 p.m. That concludes my items, Madam President.
Thank you. Okay. I have items 8.1 through 8.5. Would anyone like to separate them? Any out?
Point of order, ma'am.
Oh.
The agenda currently just has 8.1 through 8.3 on consent.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'm reading the wrong,
No
okay.
need to, actually, yes, 8.3.
Okay, I have item 8.1 and 8.2 on consent. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. DeRay,
Yes.
Mr. Howard,
Yes.
Ms. Politi,
Yes.
Mr. Stewart,
Yes.
Ms. Christine Bello,
Yes.
Ms. Thomasina Bello,
Yes.
Ms. Mackenzie Boucher,
Yes.
Ms. Victoria Boucher,
Yes.
Mr. Bergarelli.
Yes.
Item 8.3, can I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second. Discussion? Ms. Politi?
Why do we need this?
Mr. Shaw?
The district needs to have, in certain circumstances, an independent investigator in certain title matters, and that is a present need of the district.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah.
Oh, Mr. DeRay?
So how long has it been a present need that we've gone without?
I'd like to ask for an executive session to give advice of counsel on this.
I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
And a second? Oh, second. But
To discuss this item.
is this 8.3, 8.4, and 8.5? Or,
Yes.
okay. So.
Be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby recesses into executive session for the following purpose. Obtain advice from legal counsel, employment history of particular corporations.
Can I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Howard. Ms. Politi.
Yes.
Mr. Stewart.
Yes.
Ms. Christine Bello.
Yes.
Ms. Thomasina Bello.
Yes.
Ms. Mackenzie Boucher.
Yes.
Ms. Victoria Boucher.
Yes.
Mr. Bergarelli.
Yes.
Mr. DeRay.
Yes.
Resolution 8.3. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second. A second? Okay. Roll call. Oh, discussion. Okay, roll call.
Mr. Stewart. Ms. Lisa Rusk.
Yes.
Ms. Christine Bello.
Yes.
Ms. Thomasina Bello.
Yes.
Ms. Mackenzie Boucher.
Yes.
Ms. Victoria Boucher.
Yes.
Mr. Bergarelli.
Yes.
Mr. DeRay.
Yes.
Mr. Howard.
Yes.
Ms. Politi.
Yes.
Resolution 8.4. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second. Discussion?
Motion to table?
Can I have a second?
Second.
Okay, and roll call.
Roll call to table. Ms. Thomasina Bello.
Yes.
Ms. Mackenzie Boucher.
Yes.
Ms. Victoria Boucher.
Yes.
Mr. Bergarelli.
Yes.
Mr. DeRay.
Yes.
Mr. Howard.
Yes.
Ms. Politi.
Yes.
Mr. Stewart.
Yes.
Ms. Christine Bello.
Yes. Resolution 8.5
So moved.
Second.
and discussion.
Motion to table?
Can I have a second?
Second.
And roll call.
Ms. Mackenzie Boucher.
Yes.
Ms. Victoria Boucher.
Yes.
Mr. Bergarelli.
Yes.
Mr. DeRay. Mr. Howard. Ms. Politi.
Yes.
Mr. Stewart.
Yes.
Ms. Christine Bello.
Yes.
Ms. Thomasina Bello.
Yes.
And now I'll turn it over to the Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources.
Thank you, Madam President. On the Human Resources agenda, we have items 9.1 through 9.6 for your consideration on consent.
Thank you. Would anyone like to separate any out? Victoria?
I would like Mr. Shaw to bring light to 9.5, if he can give a little explanation of what that is. 9.4.
9.4 is a correcting resolution. If an administrator has been tenured as an administrator in any administrative position in a New York public school or BOCES, and if they're hired, as today would be, or the last several years, since June 1, 2020, the probationary term by statute is 3 years, not 4. So this is a correction. This isn't the time for a tenure vote. It's just a resolution correcting the length of probation.
Mr. Bergarelli?
And just to be clear, David, this is not an elected decision. This is law. It's supposed to be done like this, right?
Correct, statutory law.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so nobody wants to separate any out, so can I have a motion?
So moved.
And
Second.
second. And roll call.
Ms. Victoria Boucher?
Yes.
Mr. Bergarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Duray?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Ms. Politi?
Yes.
Mr. Stewart?
Yes.
Ms. Christine Bello?
Yes.
Ms. Thomasina Bello?
Yes.
Ms. Mackenzie Boucher?
Yes.
And now I'll turn it over to the Assistant Superintendent of Finance.
Thank you. The Finance Division has items 10.1 to 10.11 for consent this evening.
Okay, does anyone want to separate any out? Can I have a motion? Oh,
10.5, please.
okay. So we have a resolution 10.1 through 10.11 minus 10.5. Can I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Bergarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Duray?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? Ms. Politi?
Yes.
Mr. Stewart?
Yes.
Ms. Christine Bello?
Yes.
Ms. Thomasina Bello?
Yes.
Ms. Mackenzie Boucher?
Yes.
Ms. Victoria Boucher?
Yes.
Resolution 10.5. Can I have a motion? And a second?
Second.
Discussion? Mr. Duray?
A taxpayer had a question about this one on the yonder pouches. I'm going to make an assumption they're obsolete and no longer usable. Could you confirm that?
We did confirm with the building principal that these are in fact unusable, and that's why they're being disposed of at this time.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, anyone else? Roll call.
Mr. Duray?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? Ms. Politi?
Yes.
Mr. Stewart?
Yes.
Ms. Christine Bello?
Yes.
Ms. Thomasina Bello?
Yes.
Ms. Mackenzie Boucher?
Yes.
Ms. Victoria Boucher?
Yes.
Mr. Bergarelli?
Yes.
Okay,
I'm sorry, thank you. That concludes my items.
thank you. And now I turn it over to the Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction, Elementary.
The Division of CNI Elementary presents items 11.1 and 11.2 for your consideration on request, on consent.
Does anyone want to separate any? No. Okay, may I have a motion
So moved.
and a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Howard? Ms. Politi?
Yes.
Mr. Stewart?
Yes.
Ms. Christine Bello?
Yes.
Ms. Thomasina Bello?
Yes.
Ms. Mackenzie Boucher?
Yes.
Ms. Victoria Boucher?
Yes.
Mr. Bergarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Duray?
Yes.
That concludes my items. Thank you.
Thank you. And now I'll turn it to the Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction, Secondary, Ms. Soto.
Division, its secondary level presents agenda item 12.1 for the board's consideration on consent.
Can I have a motion and a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Politi?
Yes.
Mr. Stewart?
Yes.
Ms. Christine Bello?
Yes.
Thomasina Bello?
Yes.
Ms. Mackenzie Boucher?
Yes.
Ms. Victoria Boucher?
Yes.
Mr. Bergarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Doré?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Thank you. And now to the Assistant Superintendent of Exceptional Learners, or who is filling in for, Ms. Roaring?
The Exceptional Learners Division presents item 13.1 for consent this evening.
Can I have a motion? And a second. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Stewart?
Yes.
Ms. Christine Bello?
Yes.
Ms. Thomasina Bello?
Yes.
Ms. Mackenzie Boucher? Ms. Victoria Boucher?
Yes.
Mr. Bergarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Doré?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Ms. Politi?
Yes.
Thank you. That concludes our items.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
That was fast. And roll call?
Ms. Christine Bello?
Yes.
Ms. Thomasina Bello?
Yes.
Ms. Mackenzie Boucher? Yes. Ms. Victoria Boucher?
Yes.
Mr. Bergarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Doré? Mr. Howard?